Hello, everyone. Welcome to Demand More from your Juniper Network. My name is Rollo Lutz, and I'm here joined by my counterpart, Micheal Dine.
Hey, I'm Micheal Dine, and I'm the counterpart of Rollo Lutz.
So today we're here to discuss the difference in architectures. So, Micheal, why don't you kind of guide us through a little bit of the history of Wi-Fi and what progression we've made since, I don't know, let's say just 2003, the early days.
That's the early days. Okay. All right. We'll go with that. That makes sense. So let's talk about that. We talk about, say, generation Wi-Fi. When Wi-Fi was still relatively new, there were very few players in the market. And it wasn't really until, I guess, Bob Friday came along where he invented the wireless controller, and that kind of set the stage for the next number of years. That and the Centrino with the, back in my day, you used to have to stick in a PCMCIA card to get Wi-Fi to work. Now, every laptop had it built in. So those two things combined really propelled the wireless marketplace. And you saw a whole bunch of vendors come into the marketplace. The market exploded. It was all based on this mindset of we're going to have a controller, all the access points go back to it, and that's where the data plane went, and that's where the control plane went. And that's how it's been for like the last really 20 years. And let's say, 2007 when Cisco bought Meraki, and Meraki was kind of the differentiator in that it was in the cloud. It was still a controller, but it was in the cloud. And you add on top of that Amazon Web Services, that really kind of started to change the game, but still, we didn't see the wireless architecture or wireless movement really change from that. People were just buying the same old that they had before. It's just, okay, I want to remain compliant to my maintenance contract. I'm going to buy the brightest, shiniest thing that's out there. And that's what people did. And it wasn't really until like around 2016, Bob Friday again, and his group decided that they needed to change how wireless was done, because the old rule is, hey, the light is green, the trap is clean, and, hey, the light's good, everything's working. That really wasn't the case. So they wanted to change how they were going to be building Wi-Fi networks. And that is where the introduction of this. So Rollo, I got a question for you. We're talking about architecture and the differences. We got a microservices architecture, but really, what about control plane and data plane? What's the big deal on those two architectures?
Yeah, so one of the big differences that we make a huge point in getting across is the fact that our data plane is basically built into our AP. So instead of having it centralized within a controller area and having it separated in that type of area, we actually are putting it all into one traffic, one motion, one session between your cloud and your access points. And this allows for tunnels to be able to be controlled and easily assembled. One of the things that we do also add on top of that is a Mist edge that allows for another architecture to be centralized. What we're really discussing today is the legacy software versus a microservices architecture. So, Micheal, why don't you just give us a quick rundown on what you would say is a legacy software versus a microservices architecture?
So really, the difference is back in the day, you would build your whatever device it happened to be, a switch or router. In this case, it was a controller for access. It was a big chunk of monolithic code that people would work on, and you would just keep adding features, taking care of your bugs. But it was a slow process. You came out with a bug that could take a year, 2 years before it got fixed. Or if there was a vulnerability, you could be looking at the same amount of time. The ability to scale, being able to tell me where problems are in my network, as opposed to the light's green, I can connect, so therefore the network is good, or that I'm having a good experience, really wasn't the case, and there was really no way to do it. Microservices, on the other hand, which is what the Juniper Mist architecture is based on, is based on the same type of architecture that LinkedIn, Netflix. It's designed so that it is resilient. It's transparent. So that, for example, one of the advantages of having a microservices architecture versus the monolithic code version is you make your network better every single week, every time we do a software upgrade. Just like Netflix. Netflix adds new features. You don't have to go necessarily buy yourself a brand new TV as a result of that, or a new laptop. Oh, it's completely transparent to you, the end user. So they make the experience better every single week. Being able to scale out as you grow so that you don't get that, disruption in service. And remember, this is only control plane stuff. We're not talking data plane, which we'll talk about later. But that's kind of like the big difference. We're able to add features every other week inside Juniper for our Mist portfolio, and it's completely transparent to our end users.
I would definitely love to throw on top of that. So if you go into our cloud, and this is where microservices really plays a part into it, we're updating everything weekly. We're almost doing it by 2 weeks. There's an update. We take in feedback from users and we make sure that it's put forth into our customers, and we're making sure we're taking their ideas, just like a startup would, or any type of GoFundMe accounts. They're always trying to take in the information right away and be able to put it back into the environment. Just like any virus that you can think of, whether it be a crack virus or any of the latest and greatest, hack attacks, we can be able to fix those bugs within, a couple of minutes once we get software, and we can push them to the APs. Now, the great thing about our APs that make, these microservices that much better is the ability to update right then and there, or you can schedule a specific downtime to be able to roll those out quicker. If you're talking about something like an older legacy monolithic code and those controllers, you're not able to do such a thing on a access point by basis. This is kind of where, if we compare legacy software, you're talking about having to deal with different legacy hardware and different legacy software that needs to be up to date so that everything can be connected to each other properly. They can be able to talk to each other based on what version they are. In a microservices environment, you don't have to deal with that specific details. Everything is working on a compatibility. You're not having to spend time on those type of things where you have to worry about if it's going to be working or not for your code, if it's not going to be working for your environment.
Yeah, actually, that's a great point, because you mentioned the crack virus. Within 48 hours, we had that completely remediated for every single customer that we had. Imagine that. As you say, old world guy here, back in those days when that all started, you would get the code, but you wouldn't get it within 48 hours. It could be 6 months, it could be a year before you got the code, and then you'd have to test it. And not only would you have to test to see if it would work on the controller, but then you'd also have to upgrade access points. And then GMI access points, are they actually going to come back online? If I do this, are they going to be supported? So there are probably still some customers out there who haven't addressed some of those things. Why? Because they don't want to take that risk of upgrading things and causing other things to break. That's what the old legacy monolithic software brings to the table versus us. We're able to fix things faster. We're able to bring out new services faster. And because it's based on a standards-based, it's a Kafka architecture, all their stuff is built on APIs. They're open APIs, which, why is this important to you, the end customer? Because you can actually go out and get other services, such as like Uber type services for devices in your network, or, and it doesn't have to be a network device. It could be wheelchairs, it could be a cart, it could be anything inside your organization that you want to keep track of. Where is it? How do I find it? How do I get to it quickly? How do I book rooms? How many people are in these rooms? These are all things that we're able to do. Why? Because we're on microservices, it's open APIs, and it allows our customers to do a lot of really cool things by moving to our architecture.
I will bounce off that topic and go into a use case scenario, right? If you have a troubleshoot issue that you have to go into, and you have to, let's just talk about from a legacy system, right, with controllers and such. You're going to have to go to, let's say you have an incident going on with your client and they have a specific iOS issue with their phones going around the environment or building, whatever it may be. You're having a outage in a specific area. You have to go back through with a sniffer and you have to replay that exact same incident with that exact same iOS, everything, to be able to figure out what's going on, what's going wrong, what is this exact issue. With a microservice architecture by Mist, we actually have a packet capture right when that signal goes down and it has a bad issue. that bad issue is taking a packet capture from one of the APs around, and they will take that packet capture, and instead of having to go into the site and having to deal with that issue and having to replay the exact same scenario, the microservices already took that data, put it in the cloud, and you can be able to check that data whenever you need to and pull it in. It's going to save you some time, you're going to save some money, and you're not only going to be able to do that, it's automating all the way down to your client device as well as to your cloud, your edge, everything done correct.
This is the difference between us and everybody else. Now, speaking of us and everybody else, and Rollo, I don't like to talk about other vendors by name, and I'm not going to do that. But I will tell you that, so sometimes I get that question, are we doing the right? We get to see microservices and nobody else does. Is this really the right direction? Well, let me tell you. And our third-party analysts out there, like Gartner and others, recognize that as that's the right direction to go. Look at our customers and how they're coming over to us. And as Sudhir says, it's like customers for life, because they come in, they see the value of what we bring and how we're actually able to improve their network and the end user experience. But lastly, it's our competitors. For a while there after we came out, it was like, oh yeah, we do that too, but they didn't really do it. And now in I think it was around the last 6 months or something like this, they've made their own announcement saying, yeah, guess what? We need to go to microservices too. Things are already in movement, and somehow they have to figure out how do they take that monolithic code, turn it into microservices, and sell that as a product.
A lot of these companies are still working on that little baby to begin with. They're still nurturing, trying to feed it information, trying to get it to the point where it's actually able to do its own, analytics, its own insights. But ours is already doing that beyond fourfold. We're able to go in and check the bad cables to our missing VLANs. You can even take in LLDDP from adopted switches from third parties. It's taking all that and put it into an actions tab so that you as a human can come in right away and be able to see what's going on. And you can even ask it questions such as, bad usage, what's going on in the environment. Hey, can you tell me what I need to do to enhance the environment? What can I do to make it more happy for the user? These are things that, competitions are trying to catch up to, and we're already a leader in this space. And like you mentioned, Gartner and other people are already noticing this, and that's why we are a leader in the spaces that we are.
That's it, everyone. Thank you very much for watching today. We appreciate your time, and if you want to reach out to us, you can contact us at the link here. And please join us as we do more of these videos.